You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. Welcome to the show. It is Friday, August 1st, 2014, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. So glad to have you here. We got all sorts of great news and information coming up for you today to close out the week, and coming to you live from Rolla J Studios. We just got back in from yesterday. We were out in Vancouver, Washington at the one of the legal pot stores out there, Main Street Marijuana, and I gotta say it was really cool watching a legal store in action, engaged in a major federal conspiracy. I bought my first legal weed, and I can tell you for sure that it's legal weed because it came in this little tube that said legal weed. You gotta like the branding there, legal weed. So I figure I'll take this with me wherever I go, and if the cops stop me, I can say, "But officer, it's legal weed." And one of the other things I really like about the legalization of weed is the packaging of it. There's this tin. I started to take the sticker off, but we got a tin here that came with a little baggie that contained 3 pre-rolled smokes. And these pre-rolled smokes, if you can get a look at that on the camera, man, that looks just like a cigarette. You're not even going to be able to tell the difference between that and a cigarette. And it burns evenly like a cigarette. Plus, it's not super high potency. So, this is something that you can enjoy and not get totally blitzed. So that's some of the benefits of legalization we got to take a look at. Yesterday, we spoke with the owner of the store, Ramsey Hamida. Ramsey Hamida. I always had trouble with his name for some reason. Plus, we spoke with Justin, who is a grower with Canasol, Sue, who's a reporter with the Columbian, and Jeremy. No, Jeremy's the grower with Canasol. Justin was the guy with Viridian Sciences, which makes business software for dispensaries. So if you missed any of that show, check it out. I've got it up on the Radical Russ YouTube page. It's also available through 420radio.org. Now, on today's show, great stuff to wind up the week. First, we'll start with our 420 radio news with Priscilla Seiben. And in the headlines today, all sorts of interesting stuff, including a report from the nonpartisan think tank, the Brookings Institution, that says Colorado's rollout of legal marijuana is succeeding. We've got ABC News reporting on Uruguay and the difficulty in making it the first legal marijuana country. We got new rules for edibles that were adopted in Colorado, plus a look at the Denver County Fair's pot pavilion. We've got some blowback on legalization in Washington state due to some inconsiderate public pot smokers, and San Bernardino, California is looking at finally regulating, legalizing, and taxing its medical marijuana dispensaries. We'll get to that right after the first break in our 420 radio news. In Behind the Headlines today, we're going to take a moment to debunk the reefer madness of our local Clatsop County District Attorney, Josh Marquis, who appeared in the pages of the Oregonian to tell people to vote against Initiative 91, the New Approach Oregon Legalization Initiative. We'll debunk all his talking points right after the 420 radio news. Then, at 1:30, we're going to take a High Times preview and take a look at their posting of 5 questions with Wyclef Jean, who just tore the doors off the place at the Cannabis Cup in Michigan last weekend, plus my interviews with Dr. O, who makes a great soilless organic growing medium. I didn't even know that was possible. Also, we've got the story of Sir Long Smoke, just another person out there in Michigan who's fighting against marijuana prohibition. And then at the end of the show, in the Radical Rant segment, we'll have time to do a complete and proper rant on Dr. Stuart Gitlow. All that's coming up. The news is next. Stick around.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups.
Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz thinks it's okay for medical marijuana patients to go to federal prison. On May 30th, she voted against an amendment that would respect Florida's new laws and protect Florida's patients. Even though 88% of Florida voters support medical marijuana, why would Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz vote to send patients like this to prison? Is Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz out of touch with Florida?
420radio.org is proud to replay Jorge Cervantes TV from Barcelona, Spain. Jorge Cervantes, the author of the best-selling books in marijuana horticulture, has dropped the disguises and brings you pro indoor and outdoor grow tips from the European masters. Catch the replays Thursday at 1 Pacific on 420.
I don't use marijuana, but as a teacher of 36 years, I can tell you lots of other people use it. I don't believe in prohibition. I don't think it works. Prohibiting it hasn't stopped anybody from getting a hold of it. I would like to see it regulated so that maybe kids can't get a hold of it so easily. I know they get a hold of it now very easily. I support a new approach to marijuana. I support legalizing it. It's with us. It's not going to go away. And if we can get money through the taxation, we can also educate our kids about it. That's why I support it.
It's time for the 420 Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available daily on our website at 420radio.org. Now, here's Priscilla Simon.
From Colorado, it's your 420 Radio News for Friday, August 1st, 2014. The Brookings Institute, a nonprofit public policy organization based in Washington, D.C., has issued a report entitled, Colorado's Rollout of Legal Marijuana is Succeeding. Quote, at its heart, this report is about good government and takes no position on whether the legalization of retail marijuana was the correct decision, end quote, writes John Hudak, a fellow in governance studies. Quote, the rollout, initial implementation of legal retail marijuana has been largely successful, end quote. He continues, citing, quote, leadership by state officials, a cooperative, inclusive approach centering on task forces and working groups, substantial efforts to improve administrative communication, adaptive regulation that embraces regulatory look-back and process-oriented learning, reorganizing, rebuilding, and restaffing critical state regulatory institutions, and changes in culture in state and local government among these groups and among the public, end quote, as factors contributing to the success.
Yeah, we can't read too much into this. This isn't the guy coming out and saying, hey, legalizing pot was the right thing to do. What he's saying is that they decided to legalize pot, and in doing so, government-wise, it's going well, right? Like the institutions are working, the taxes are being collected, the regulations are doing what we said they would do. So in that way, it's good governance, it's good public policy. But regardless, this still comes out as good news for the marijuana legalization movement. It just goes to show that if the government gets behind it, and that's something this guy pointed out too, is that, you know, even though Hickenlooper and the rest of the government in Colorado was against this legalization, once it passed, they said, hey, well, this is the will of the people. We got to be, you know, good stewards of public policy. We've got to cooperate. They brought in people in task forces. They brought in some supporters. They brought in people from all around, you know, different agencies to work on this and to collaborate. And by and large, it's gone very, very well. So it just goes to show, folks, in other states that legalization can work. It's not impossible. It's just a matter of voting it in and having the right kind of leadership behind it.
ABC News can't resist the pot pun in declaring that Uruguay's attempt to become the first nation with legalized marijuana may be, quote, going up in smoke. The ruling board front movement of President Jose Mujica who championed the unpopular legislation legalization plan faces an uphill battle in maintaining the presidency and control of the legislature. 64% of Uruguayans oppose the legalization plan, and 62% would like to see it repealed entirely, a stand being taken by most of the top opposition candidates. Mujica is among 7 candidates for president, none of whom has the support to win outright without a runoff election. Polls show 40% of the public intends to vote for the ruling Board Front coalition, which would require 50% of the vote to maintain its legislative control.
Yes, the Broad Front coalition, but
sorry, Broad Front.
That's okay. Broad Front, and understand that we're talking about a legislature and a government that's run in a kind of a parliamentary system, right? So there's lots of different parties. It's not just Republican, Democrat, and a bunch of third parties that never have any chance. This is a government where, like most governments in the world, they have to come up with coalitions. They have to come up with groups of parties that will rule together. And so far, this Broad Front coalition, it's the leftist party that Mujica's a part of, plus a couple of others. They're maintaining, a very slim control over the legislature right now, and it looks like they're going to lose some seats according to the most recent polls in Uruguay. So you're going to have a legislature that's going to be against it. You're going to have, if Mujica can't retain his presidency and one of the other candidates takes over, the guy who's in second place right now says he wants to repeal the part that says that marijuana can be sold in pharmacies. So it'd still be legal. You could have it, but you wouldn't have any legal place to get it. And a lot of the other candidates just want to repeal the whole thing entirely and just, stick with the prohibition that they already have. And like the polls show, at least 6 out of 10 of the public in Uruguay is against marijuana legalization. And most of that's not because they're against marijuana per se. It's really just a lack of education and a feeling that, drugs are drugs. All drugs are bad. Okay. And so they've got to be against marijuana legalization. This just shows why it's so important to strike while the iron is hot. We had people saying, don't go for legalization in 2014, wait for 2016. And I say, no, we got to move while the iron is hot. You never know who's going to be in office. You never know how the public mood is going to shift. And I really wish Mujica and his government was able to implement more of this a little bit faster before the next ruling party comes in and makes it all go up in smoke.
New emergency rules for marijuana edibles were adopted Thursday in Colorado. No longer will manufacturers be able to pack 100 milligrams of THC into a bite-sized edible. 100 milligrams is still the maximum that can be packaged into an edible, but it must now be easily broken into 10 milligram segments, the standard serving size under the law. Single-serving edibles must be delivered in child-resistant packaging by the infused products maker, as must liquids like sodas, which must clearly display the serving size on the package or bottle. The rules will be made permanent after a public comment period and will go into effect November 1st.
For the most part, the industry has already moved toward this. What I read from the marijuana industry group, and I talk to some of these infused product makers in Colorado, they're already making 10 milligrams, the standard. They're already making the chocolate bars scored so that they can, break into individual pieces. And this is just another example of how regulation works. When the Brookings Institute issued that report, they did point out that, edibles was one of the bumps in the road. But this just goes to show that once you got regulation in play, when you do run into a problem, you can solve it. You can do something intelligent to solve it. Just say no doesn't solve it. And this is the better choice. I know some people complain about, I have a high tolerance and I need 100 milligram, candy to even feel any effect. But I think that's just one of the compromises we're going to have to make until legalization becomes more widespread. There's better cultural and social acceptance and understanding of what edibles do, and the better education among the public about how to use these things.
Right. Fairgoers at this weekend's Denver County Fair get to enjoy the spectacle of marijuana-themed events, but none of the marijuana. Quote, "We've been selling tickets to people from all over the world, and we keep hearing they want to come see the pot," end quote, said Dana Kane, who helped organize Denver County Fair 3 years ago. This year's event is expected to draw 20,000 people. There's no actual marijuana at the 21 and older pot pavilion. Rather, joint rolling contests use oregano. Photos of competing pot plants are shown, and the judges sampled the marijuana edibles earlier last month at an undisclosed location. Quote, at first, the judges were eating them all, but by the end, they were really feeling it. So they just tasted them and spit them out, end quote, Kane said with a laugh. Quote, we offered them cabs home. Good thing. Good thing.
Yeah, I've always wondered about these edible judging competitions. You know, it's bad enough when we're talking about like, cannabis cups and stuff when you're judging oil or you're judging flour and, 7, 8 strains in, you're like bombed. But it's got to be worse with edibles, I'd imagine. I always liked the way we did it here in Oregon with the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards. We give the judges their 28 different samples, and they had 28 days to sample them. So they could just do one each day. I can't imagine you get any decent judgment out of an edible after you've done 6 or 7 of them. It'd be kind of hard to tell, wouldn't it?
People who supported legalization are nevertheless upset when you blow smoke around their kids. In an article posted to the Seattle Times, writer Jonathan Martin complains about visiting a local park with his children when pot smokers nearby wouldn't stop publicly toking upwind. Another Seattleite, Natalie Singer-Veluche, protested that she and her kids were enveloped in pot smoke at a local beach. Web content manager Stephanie Klein argues that her neighbors smoke pot in their backyard daily and the smoke infiltrates her home. Quote, it seriously fills up my whole downstairs. I can smell it through my house, even upstairs when I'm trying to sleep, Klein says. Quote, I voted for I-502. I don't care that they're smoking pot at all, but now I have to deal with my 4-year-old who's saying, the neighbors are stinky again, Mommy. What am I supposed to tell him? End quote.
Tell him that your neighbors are, pot smokers and that pot smells and that it's legal now. And sometimes people do things that are stinky, but in a society, we have to tolerate all kinds. I mean, what else are we supposed to tell? I mean, cigars.
What do you tell a cigarette smoker?
Yeah, cigars smell. If they were out back smoking cigars, what would you do? Well, whatever that is, do that for pot. See, part of the problem here is that we make it legal for people. We don't give them any public place to smoke. If you don't like pot smoking at the park, give us a public place to smoke pot. You don't like pot smoking at the beach, put off a place off to the side of it where we can smoke pot. You don't like pot smoking at a concert, well, you just haven't been to a concert in 40 years.
What kind of concert is that? San Bernardino, California is bankrupt, so the city council is considering an idea President Obama laughed at 5 years ago, legalizing and taxing marijuana to improve the economy. The city of over 200,000 declared bankruptcy in 2012 and is one of about 200 California municipalities that have enacted outright bans on all medical marijuana dispensaries. Despite the ban, there are about 20 legal storefronts selling marijuana, which cost the city $10,000 each to investigate and shut down. Quote, prohibiting them is obviously not working. It's almost easier to regulate it than prohibit it, end quote, said one city council member, James Mulville. He estimates the current plan, calling for 6 or fewer legal dispensaries, could raise $60,000 in fees plus 10% in taxes, which Mulville insists is only a desperate funding measure, not any sort of compassion for patients in his city. Quote, I'm doing this because of the trouble we're in. We can't control it, he said. I'm not doing this for the potheads.
Yeah, let's not do anything for the cancer patients who are still having to go to illegal storefront dispensaries to be able to get their medicine. Well, okay, if he's not going to do it for the right reason, at least he's going to do it for the wrong reason. I don't care as long as you're doing it, as long as you're providing access for these people. I don't care if you hate them, if you think they're stinky, or if you think they're a bunch of potheads. Legalize and regulate it. And it could be it's easier to regulate than prohibit it. Duh. That's what we've all discovered. That's what everyone is discovering throughout the country here. And the fact that California's had medical marijuana for 16, 18 years now going on, and are just now, these cities are coming around to it, and only because they're forced into it because of bankruptcy, just shows you how hard people will cling to their bigotry, to their outdated notions and stereotypes of marijuana and its users, despite all facts, logic, science, and reason, and now economic force coming to bear that shows otherwise. Why are these cities so afraid of jobs and tax-paying businesses and people that want to card kids and want to make sure they're following the law so they don't lose their license? When they're an illegal storefront dispensary, you got nothing to hold over their head. They know you can't afford to bust them, so they just stay open. Once you give them a license, now you got something to dangle in front of them if they start getting out of line. God, this is so easy. I mean, y'all figured out Colorado seems to be working there, right?
Oh yeah, come on over, take some notes.
I like how Chris Christie said Colorado would be better without marijuana legalization. Yeah, maybe you can enjoy the fresh air in Newark. Hey, thanks for the news, Priscilla. We'll see you next week, and happy 420.
Hey,
420 Radio, turning red states and blue states green.
What the authorities should do is decriminalize pot use. You want to do it in your house, not bother anyone? Fine. Go outside with a joint or a pipe, you pay a fine.
A majority of voters support changing failed marijuana laws. Legalization and decriminalization are mainstream solutions. We are the marijuana majority. MarijuanaMajority.com.
Join us for the International Cannabis Business Conference September 13th and 14th in the Portland Ballroom at the Oregon Convention Center. The International Cannabis Business Conference will focus on the emerging cannabis industry in Oregon, the United States, and around the world, putting you in front of the industry's foremost entrepreneurs, political leaders, and attorneys. Also showcasing over 40 cannabis-related industry exhibitors, offering VIP lunches and free nightly networking events. Prepare yourself for America's next great industry.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net.
Marijuana is an addictive drug which produces in its users insanity, criminality, and death. Marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. If the hideous monster Frankenstein came face to face with the monster of marijuana, he dropped dead from fright.
You know, it's not easy countering 7 decades of propaganda in a 2-hour show, but let's try. It's time for the Russ Belville Show's Reefer Madness Debunked.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just about 24 after the hour, and I'm bringing you back to our home state of Oregon, where New Approach Oregon's legalization initiative has finally gotten its number. It's I-91, Initiative 91. And to come out in opposition, we've got one of our old favorites here in Oregon, Clatsop County District Attorney Josh Marquis, who has taken to the media to offer reasons to vote against ending adult marijuana prohibition in Oregon. Quote, "There's going to be a huge trickle down to youth," Marquis told the Oregonian. "Would you want your kids, while they're learning, to be affected by a powerful drug?" End quote. Well, Josh, youth have marijuana access now. For 3 decades, the Youth Risk Behavior Surveys and the Center for Addiction and Substance Abuse have found between 80% and 90% of teens find pot fairly easy or very easy to access. Are we to believe that we'll top that rate? when marijuana is sold in adults-only stores where IDs are checked and the profit in black market dealing plummets? CASA also found that 44% of kids know a drug dealer in school, and 91% of the time marijuana is on the menu, compared to 6% for cigarettes and 1% for alcohol. Now, it's not that kids don't smoke and drink. It's that there's no profits in dealing Camels and Budweiser. Marquis believes increased use and acceptance of marijuana will also inevitably lead to more intoxicated drivers. Despite both Washington and Colorado showing fewer driving fatalities since they passed legalization, Marquis even accepts that stoned drivers aren't more dangerous than drunk drivers, but worries that it's harder to measure intoxication among marijuana users. But Josh, marijuana and cars exist now. Are you telling us that in your entire career as a prosecuting attorney, you've never been able to secure a stoned driving conviction? Or are you just complaining that the lack of an unscientific magic number for a DUID standard makes your job harder? Marquis knows full well that marijuana exists now and argues that medical marijuana and decriminalization make legalization unnecessary. Quote, marijuana, he said, is already functionally available to almost any adult that wants it in Oregon, end quote. Well, that may be true, but the consumer enjoying decriminalized pot still has to support a criminal grower, a criminal trafficker, and a criminal seller to get it. The patient treating illness with medical cannabis still has to endure the high prices, the instability, and the burglary risk born of the criminal growing, criminal trafficking, and criminal selling of pot. Marquis concludes by saying that the example of failed alcohol prohibition isn't relevant to the marijuana legalization debate. Quote, marijuana has not been accepted in America, said Marquis. It has been gradually more tolerated, end quote. He even expressed that he'd happily eliminate alcohol and tobacco if he could, but he said that's not practical. That sentence tells you all you need to know about Josh Marquis. He'd happily slap the cuffs on you for drinking wine and smoking a cigar. Gosh, if only it weren't impractical. And it's only so impractical because, so many people already accept it in our culture. Just like any practical war, we wage it against a culture small and impotent enough to defeat. The problem for Josh Marquis is he has seriously underestimated the size of our culture. According to the most recent National Survey on Drug Use and Health state-level data, among Oregonians aged 21 and older, 15.5% of us toke annually, 11.1% of us toke monthly, and 3.8% of us toke near daily. That's 436,000 occasional, 314,000 moderate, and 108,000 regular adult cannabis consumers ready to fight for acceptance, Josh Marquis, not just tolerance. You can pick up that Oregonian link through the 420 radio, the Russ Belville Show blog at radicalruss.com. It'll be posted in about a week. It's currently up online at the International Cannabis Business Conference blog. You can find that at internationalcbc.com/blog. When we come back, a High Times preview, 5 questions with Wyclef Jean at the High Times Michigan Cannabis Cup, followed by Dr. O's soilless growing medium and the tale of Sir Longsmoke.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
420 Radio. Tune in, turn on, get highly educated. The International Cannabis Business Conference takes place September 13th and 14th at the Portland Ballroom in the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. Featured speakers include Oregon Senator Floyd Przansky, U.S. Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Daily Dish blogger Andrew Sullivan, author Doug Fine, and Harborside CEO Steve D'Angelo. To learn more, visit our website at internationalcbc.com. The Marijuana Business Association, or MJBA, are proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. It is the mission of the MJBA to establish integrity and legitimacy, create common market standards, provide market intelligence, and develop best ethical business practices for participants in the emerging legal marijuana industry, including commercial hemp, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana for adults. Learn more about the Marijuana Business Association and visit mjba.net to join today. That's mjba.net. A cannabis broadcast, replaying Fridays at 10 Pacific on 420radio.org. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
For over 4 decades, High Times magazine has been the chronicle of the underground marijuana culture. Now as marijuana goes mainstream, High Times is stronger than ever, running the best-selling magazine, their high-traffic website, and producing 5 U.S. Cannabis Cups and 1 International Cannabis Cup per year. Check out the latest news from High Times in our High Times preview.
In this your great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say.
Hi, this is Morgan Rose. We're here at the High Times Cannabis Cup with Wyclef. Hi, Clef.
High times, high times, high times.
So we have a couple of questions for him today. Number 1, Clef, indica or sativa?
Naturally, I'm from the islands, you know, so sativa will be the natural vibe for me, you know what I mean?
Indoor or outdoor?
Outdoor naturally, but actually I was talking to your pops, you know, who's like the ganja expert. And I have to say some incredible surprises is being, you know, coming out, like I was saying earlier, you know, indoor. But for me, just outdoor, you know, like you see the sun. I don't think nothing beats like when the sun come down on the earth and it produce such magic, you know what I mean?
Number 3, favorite strain?
Jamaica, you know, for me, just hard green, you know? Like for me, natural green. I don't know, there's just something about when I see it and it's just all green, you know? It does something to me.
Number 4, when was your first kiss from Mary Jane?
I mean, really, my first kiss from Mary Jane, you know, I was a Fuji, you know what I mean? I was like the right age, you know. I was mature enough to enjoy her. Inhale, exhale, you know what I mean? Being on tour and just being a little stressed out. And it's like you're in the top of the world. You know, this is when a lot of temptation come. You have to understand with my industry, it's like a line of coke, you know what I mean? It's like every pill possible. So the only thing that I would say, you see how fit I am, you see how young I look, how real, man. I just this way I promote, you know what I mean? So for me, the herb definitely.
Strictly la la.
Strictly la la, la 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 la.
Last question. Favorite time and place to smoke?
Really, for me, like the natural place is, I would say when I'm in Jamaica, you know, I smoke a lot. I remember the last person I had a good smoke with in Jamaica was probably Buju Banton. I remember that smoke because that smoke was like by the water. Saying, free Buju Banton. Saying, love, High Times. Y'all know what it is. Bless up, you know what I mean? And everybody, this is special, you know what I mean? It's like we coming from the World Cup, you know what I mean, to the Cannabis Cup. Not too many people could say that, so we're going to rock out. Respect the High Times. Saying,
It's the King Kong.
That's right. High Times Cannabis Cup in Clio, Michigan. Everybody must get stoned. Of course, that's Bob Dylan with Rainy Day Women, number 12 and 35. And little trivia for you. Rainy Day Women, number 12 and 35. 12 times 35 is 420. Interesting, huh? All right, joining us here at the table, we got Greg, who's also known as Dr. O, with Dr. O's Universal Growing Medium. We're going to talk about dirt. How you doing, Dr. O?
Wonderful.
So, Universal Growing Medium, and I understand that we're talking about like organic growing. And can you tell us just a little bit about what this soil is and how it's going to help farmers out there?
It's a totally soilless growing medium.
Soilless?
Soilless. It has no actual soil in it. It is 100% organic.
Yeah.
It is a start-to-finish mix. You add no nutrients throughout the complete grow. The only thing you add is water and TLC, and watch out for the bugs.
If it's not soil, what is it?
It's a combination of a few different kinds of peat moss, perlite, and a mixture of OMRI and NOP-approved organic ingredients.
Okay. What's the advantage of if I want to grow with this rather than soil?
The advantages of growing with this is you have nothing else to add but water. There's no mixing, measuring, flushing. There's no more to do but water.
Just add water, soilless growing mix, and it's all organic?
100% organic.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. And I imagine you're getting a lot of response back from the growers who've been using this. What do they say about the fruit, the yield?
The ones that have been using it, some have been using it for 3 years. It's totally what they use. It's been in development for 5 years. I've been growing organically for 42 years.
Wow.
I also am an organic farmer at this time. I grow vegetables, and the advantage of this mix is the ease in the growing of just watering and watering from the bottom only, and it makes it easy. You can water, go away for the weekend, not have to worry about 2 drops of this, 2 drops of that, no babysitter, no jugs.
That sounds pretty convenient. And I imagine this is available at area grow stores and such?
Presently, it is available at Eden's Hydro in Lapeer and Madison Heights.
Madison Heights. And do you sell it directly as well? Do you have a website or anything like that?
Presently, our website is under construction, but it should be up in about a week.
Yeah.
And we sell online, and we sell through me and my distributors that I have out working for me right now.
Fantastic. Dr. O's Universal Growing Medium. And Greg here, Dr. O. What do you think about this Cannabis Cup? You having a good time?
I think it's great. I'm so happy it happened here.
Yeah.
It's close to home for me. And I think it's great that it's happening worldwide.
Yeah. And you said you've been doing this, you've been growing for 42 years. In those 42 years, ever had any, bad experiences with the work, law enforcement, anything like that?
Nope.
Nope. Been pretty good. Been pretty lucky.
Never.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. But this is amazing being here, and everybody's just chill, getting along, seeming to be having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
How's business over at the booth?
Pretty good. A lot of interest. Being there, it's a very new product. It's taken some time. It's only been on the market about 6 weeks. So
oh, wow. Brand new.
This is basically our first launch.
Excellent.
And we're local.
Well, I'm glad I could get a chance to help tell people about it. Dr. O's Universal Growing Medium launched just 6 weeks ago, and moving forward with a soilless, organic growing medium. Just add water. That's something even I could probably handle. Thanks so much, Dr. O, for stopping in.
Thank you.
And for more information, oh boy, I'm so blind. I don't have my my glasses are in the. You go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I'll do it. For more information, the website will be up in just a few days, and if you want to check it out to find out more about Dr. O's Universal Growing Medium, go to www.drosnaturalsoil.com. That's DROSNATURALSOIL soil.com, and find out more there.
Thank you so much. My reading glasses are over my laptop. I was going to grab them. One of the disadvantages of getting older. Hey, thanks, Dr. O. Thanks, everybody. Let's get back to some music here at the High Times Cannabis Cup. Welcome back, everybody. Radical Russ with 420 Radio on the Russ Belville Show. And joining us here, Sir Long Smoke. Is that correct? Do I have that name right?
That's correct.
All right, get up close to the microphone there so folks can hear you. So Long Smoke come by the desk here with this bright yellow shirt, and it says, "Hear my story." And I'm like, that's my job. That's what I do. So tell us your story, Sir Long Smoke.
I'm a legal caregiver in Michigan, and I was raided by the state police last week.
Raided by the state police last week here in Michigan, and what was their flimsy excuse?
Because my outdoor grow didn't have a top.
You did not have a top. You had a topless grow.
Yes.
So it's like, like a woman. If she's got her top off, that's no good.
Yeah, right.
Posters are $3, sir. Everything else is grabbable, but just drop it in the jar there, and if you don't got 3, put in 2. But whatever you can spare, that helps us cover the cost of flying out to Michigan. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. The real reason I'm here is just to spread my story, and
Light donation $5, sir.
Maybe get some push for a change in the law, make it more clear for people like me that just want to stay within the law, and do what's right, and not have to deal with the injustice of our justice system. So that's the real reason I'm here. So any support, I'd appreciate it. You can Google Sir Long Smoke, and you can read my story, and I would really appreciate that. So
$3 donation for the flag, sir. $3. Sir Long Smoke, again,
Yes.
give us the Google address.
It's Sir Long Smoke, SIRLONGSMOKE.
How long had you been involved with the marijuana program here?
I would say for about 2 years now.
2 years, and no problems up until now, huh?
Well, I had an indoor grow. And,
okay.
That was fine, and I just wanted to take it, to the next level, and that's why I tried to do the outdoor grow. And before I started this whole situation, my wife and I got together. We looked at the law. We thought we were within the law, and apparently in the end we're not. So, we're trying to fight that right now, and I still don't know if I'm being faced with any charges, but it's just a difficult and stressful time in my family's life right now that I have to deal with.
And that's something that, a lot of people don't consider is that when you get busted, it's not just the getting busted, it's the sitting and waiting to find out what's going to happen. And that's kind of, I always say it's a form of terrorism because, here you are frightened. It'd be better if you actually knew what was happening.
Exactly.
Right?
And, my story is a little bit different because who I am on paper. I mean, even if you've never met me, I work for a school, I work with children. I volunteer my time with Special Olympics. So, I dedicate my time, I do what I can. I don't have any prior record.
Yeah.
So to really feel the power of the justice system come down on me like this is just unreal.
Yeah, I bet it is. Wow. Well, we wish the best of luck for you. And folks, check out Sir Long Smoke. Just put that out on Google. You'll find him and throw some ducats his way. Help him pay these legal bills. It's going to be really tough, That's also part of the punishment is just getting in the system,
Correct. I mean, even to talk to a lawyer, you're talking, $500 just to sit down and tell them your story. And
yeah.
With people like me that don't make a lot of money, I'm in the lower middle class, so for me, it's it's kind of hard to deal with all that consequence of the money. But
and that's got to be part of why I know a lot of people that are growing their cannabis because of economic reasons. You can't afford prescriptions, you can't afford doctors, you can care for yourself.
Exactly. I mean, even if it doesn't alleviate your pain, I mean, it's just a good eye-opener for, positive, flow in your life. So that's why I really agree with it, and I believe in it. And, if you always get guidance from above, and the rest is up to you. So.
Right. So. Well, thanks for stopping by. Sir Long Smoke, check him out on Google. Help him out if you can. We're going to return to some music and let you get out and enjoy this wonderful, sunny Cannabis Cup day.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Really good to get to talk to the people in Michigan there. That was Sir Long Smoke, a patient there, a caregiver, and so many others that, people in non-medical states, you think, wow, medical state would be great, but hey, there's still problems there too. There's still problems there. None of these problems get solved until it's legal for everybody, even the healthy people, especially the healthy people, because we're the bulk of the market, and we are what drives the supply and demand. All right, when we come back, time for a radical rant. Somewhat the same one I did yesterday, but a little better crafted. Had to have an official one to go to the archives and to get posted up on High Times. Stuart Gitlow is next, the head of Big Rehab and his Reefer Madness.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
420 Radio, the world's voice of marijuana legalization. At Royal Queen Seeds, we've got premium feminized cannabis seeds, including auto-flowering varieties for the medical cannabis user. We've got bulk shipments available and new CBD oil. Plus, we accept payment in Visa, MasterCard, and Bitcoin, as well as other methods. Check out our website at royalqueenseeds.com for more information. We are located in the Netherlands, and we have online grow experts ready to help you now at royalqueenseeds.com. In the interest of fair and balanced journalism, the Russ Belville Show presents the anti-drug public service announcement of the day.
Wait a minute, how are we going to do this? Oh, we don't want to sound too preachy, right?
Yeah, it's really important that we don't make it seem like we're pointing the finger at anybody.
No, but drugs are a problem. I mean, there's a lot of peer pressure in high school, and the point is, drugs can really mess you up. And if anyone needs help and feels like talking about it, call 1-800-COCAINE. We should have filmed it.
What was that number again?
Holly, it's right there.
Oh.
This has been the anti-drug public service announcement of the day. To cure this sort of reefer madness, listen to the Russ Belville Show every weekday on 420radio.org. New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. We can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you.
You can't handle the truth.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
You have offended my family.
Hey, this is great, man.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
I know nothing.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
We don't need no stinking budget.
Homosexuality, immorality in general.
Down the centuries, you have blurred the meaning of the words we, the people.
Be warned, this is not your mother's marijuana.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Head of Big Rehab says, quote, use marijuana and your brain won't work anymore. Yeah. In 10 years of marijuana activism and the 6 years that I've been in the marijuana media, I've reported on a whole lot of reefer madness. But the recent response by the head of the American Society for Addiction Medicine, ASAM, or if you prefer, Big Rehab, set a new standard for how low prohibitionists will go to frighten the public. Dr. Stuart Gitlow, which really should be the name of a funk DJ character in an Austin Powers movie, took to the website of CNN to offer his opinion on the dangers of marijuana legalization. Now, many prohibitionist dinosaurs are already shrieking about the New York Times calling for national legalization, with poll after poll and state after state turning against the drug war. But with this op-ed, Dr. Gitlow and Get Back Up Again cranks the propaganda up to 11 anslingers. Quote, but with marijuana, People can also experience long-term psychiatric disease, and those who use it heavily prior to age 25 are more likely than non-users to experience a drop in IQ. Dr. Gitlow, say it loud, preaches. Let me repeat that for emphasis. If you use marijuana heavily prior to age 25, your brain won't work anymore, not as it did originally. Dr. Gitlow, take it to the bridge, is referencing that New Zealand study that said teen pot smokers lose 8 IQ points in adulthood. Now, forget that it was soon debunked by a researcher who found socioeconomic factors were just as reasonably to blame, and disregard the fact that since 1950, IQ scores have risen dramatically worldwide, just as marijuana use has skyrocketed. And let's just forget about Carl Sagan and Steve Jobs and Sir Richard Branson and other people who smoked marijuana and seem to have high cognitive functioning. It doesn't matter. Nobody's calling for the legalization of teenage pot smoking. He continues, quote, as with tobacco, a significant number of people who try marijuana will become addicted. Research says that 1 in 6 teens who start using marijuana will become addicted. Dr. Gitlow, like a sex machine, wails. Will you die young, as with tobacco? We'll have to wait a generation to find out, just as we did with tobacco. Our children will be the guinea pigs. Yeah, right. It's too bad that legalization invents marijuana. Gosh, if only it'd been smoked in far greater amounts a generation ago than it is today, if only that had happened, we might already know whether that generation died young. Jesus. This guy's on something far more powerful than THC to believe this bullshit. Is marijuana addictive? Yeah. It's about as addictive as caffeine. The symptoms for caffeine or marijuana withdrawal, as listed in the DSM-5, the new version of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Psychiatry, include, quote, and this is from both withdrawal syndromes, the same quote, irritability, anger or aggression, nervousness or anxiety, sleep difficulties, insomnia, depressed mood, and or physical symptoms such as stomach pain, shakiness or tremors, and headache, end quote. Kicking weed is like kicking coffee. Now, he says, as with tobacco, well, tobacco cigarettes lead to dependence in about 1 out of 3 people who try them. Marijuana cigarettes lead to dependence in about 1 out of 11 people who try them. But ask anyone who has quit smoking how easy that was compared to laying off weed for a month to pass a piss test. Dr. Gitlow, can I play? Finishes off the Reefer Madness with that old classic, the Sabbath conjecture. The idea that making no tax money on pot is better than making some. Quote, as a society, we will not make money. We will likely lose money, just as we do with alcohol and tobacco. Dr. Gitlow, ow, writes, taxpayers will need to pay more in order to make up for the productivity and illness-related losses that marijuana taxes won't come close to covering, end quote. Sure, yeah, alcohol and tobacco cost society 10 times what they bring in tax revenue. But that's because they lead to violence and addiction, cirrhosis and emphysema, and drunk driving and cancer. Not because they're legal. You ever notice how prohibitionists never tell you what marijuana toking costs in productivity and illness right now? Well, because then you'd realize, hey, we're already paying marijuana costs. And we're taking in zero tax dollars. And we're wasting more money trying in vain to stop it. Look, Colorado's racked up about $30 million in tax revenues, and even Washington's botched rollout has racked up $600,000 so far. Does anyone think that there has been $300 million in social costs, or even $6 million in social costs? or even enough social costs to offset what we're not spending on arrests, jails, courts, public defenders, probation officers, piss tests, and rehabs. Oh my God. Well, you know what though? I gotta hand it to him. That Dr. Gitlow is one reefer mad mother. Shut your mouth! I'm just talking about, Sam? We can dig it. There we go. That's our radical rant for the day. Finishing up just a little bit early. This is music from Brain Dead with Debauched Beauty. I'm going to close out this show just briefly with a quick memorial and dedication to the inspiration of Jim Gregg. Jim Gregg was a longtime marijuana activist here in the state of Oregon who welcomed me as I came into Oregon, a transplant, a red state refugee from Idaho, back in 2005 when 2004 actually, when I first started getting involved, 2005 when I officially joined NORML. Jim Gregg was instrumental in many changes in Oregon law that supported medical marijuana patients, and most recently had a major consulting role involved in the crafting of our dispensary regulations that are currently serving so many patients. Jim battled many ailments and lived his life in a wheelchair, but despite his disabilities, would make the trek to Salem, to the state capitol, to lobby lawmakers. One of his big achievements, I've got to say, in the political arena has to do with the election of our Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum. She was being opposed by Dwight Holton, who was a DNC favorite who was just expected to be the nominee. She came in, and through Jim's campaigning, we helped expose how that Attorney General nominee, Holton, was anti-medical marijuana and would be a disaster for our state's patients. That rose enough awareness to help her defeat the candidacy of Dwight Holton. Jim passed away about a month ago, and his service is in Eugene tomorrow. I will be there and offering our condolences from the 420 Radio family. Thank you, Jim Gregg.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it.